Hey, welcome back to the channel. It's awesome that you're tuning in. In today's video we're going to be doing a chit chat about the Gamestick 4K, or yeah, there's a 4K Ultra HD, but that's complete nonsense. So what is actually not nonsense, that I call this thing the X2L. Yep, there are so many of these freaking devices out there, it's absolutely crazy. However, there are a little bit of an upgrade that we're getting nowadays, and that are the controls, or not like the quality ones, or at least it's not going to be supreme quality, but they are going to be slightly better now. Previously we had these PlayStation 2 knockoff controller, but now we're getting fake PlayStation 5 knockoff controllers. So they still need to rip something off. But the overall quality, I must say that's not like the best controller. I had a couple of them, they were like not working, or the D-pad or partially working. So what you need to do is add 2 batteries over here, I think 2 AA's, and you're ready to go. Okay, so it's a little bit of a downgrade, because with the PlayStation ones we had like an on and off switch, and that was convenient because these things were freaking draining your batteries. Don't know if there's going to be the same problem with this one. So they are comfortable, they're not, nope, they're not smelling chemical, or at least too chemical. So the feel, it's cheap, but it's absolutely better. Well, what is going on? Over here we're having a toilet paper manual with not a lot of explanation, but more than enough to basically get you going. So over here we're having the home, the game search, game list, game menu and everything else. However, this is kind of funny, is that even this thing looks kind of cool when it comes to the menu. It's highly possible it's not even in the device, because they're using an old manual. That is something I also noticed. So this is the Gamestick. It's a very compact model today. So they even put some stuff on it, like when the 4K Ultra Gamestick blah de blah. We're having over here an USB at the back for the dongle, because both of the controls will utilize one dongle, one configuration, one control will automatically set to player 1 and player 2. At the side we're having the SD card slot and the, let's see. Okay, we're having the YC. Okay, that's maybe an upgrade, because previously we had these very strange non-brand, or there was not even something on it. But I would always make a backup of these things, otherwise you're going to be having a brick. And that even happens like 2 or 3 times booting them up. Micro USB for powering on, because you're going to be needing an external source, 5 volt, 2 amps minimum. Otherwise you're going to be having a problem. But let's plug everything in and let's have some fun. Yeah. So when the device is booted up, we're going to be having this very fancy menu, and before that we're going to be having a cool intro. And it somewhere shuts down. Okay, they didn't actually fade it out. Normally it like automatically shuts down in the middle of the video and that's it. Okay, this is called Artflix. Okay, that's the menu they ripped off from the internet. But let's see what's going on, because that is a layout I've never seen, or at least like a menu I've never seen before. It's done. Get into it. Okay, there we finally go. Okay, so the menu itself looks absolutely awesome. So let's see what's going on when it comes to the systems. So the controller is quite responsive, or at least the menu itself. This looks nice, I love it. So pressing start, let's see, there's nothing going on. So what they actually did is lock out everything. Pressing select and start will give you the ES settings over here. And yeah, we can actually unlock it with the code. And I think we need to put in a code to unlock everything, but that doesn't always work. Well, let's see what's going on. So how you need to unlock this is quite simple. So you need to press AAABA, and if that doesn't work, we need to press BBBAB. And now you can see actually it loading up again. And now if everything goes to as supposed to be, everything is unlocked and we can actually get into the menu itself. And this is quite important. If you don't want to do any tinkering, you just leave it as it is. But now we can get into the UI. We can just actually mess around with game collections if you just want to remove them, or maybe add one, the audio, everything. And also when it comes to scraping, bezels and everything else. And yeah, the control settings, that is also not it's not going to be unimportant, because if you're going to be setting up certain controls to player 1 or player 2, it's going to be so much more convenient to actually get something working. Also, if you're going to be implementing new freaking controls. But let's do a quick overview of a couple of systems. 8-bit, 16-bit, there is a lot we can actually play. So let's deep dive into it. Everything is unlocked, so we can also fix the problems if we notice something that doesn't work. If you want to choose a game, you can actually fairly easy add them to the favorite list by pressing the cross, or if you're pressing the Y, we can just search In this case, we can actually search into the system itself. And this is one of the things I love about these systems. So let's say we're going to be having Sonic over here. It will search in every single, let's say, actually like every single device, but it will indicate Mega Drive, Genesis and everything. So that's kind of cool, and this way we can just put it up. And let's say we're going to be starting with Sonic 2 on the Sega Genesis. There is no quick load, quick save menu that we have seen with some of these devices, meaning is that we don't have like the easy aspect ratio option that we have seen before. But overall performance is good when it comes to the Sega Genesis. We can't get into the menu, so if you need to do a little bit of tweaking, if something goes wrong, we can actually fix it now. So very glad we do have the option to unlock it if you want to start tinkering with a game stick like this. So moving on to the Sega 32X. It's a system we do see more often now on this game stick, and I'm glad because the Sega 32X do have a couple of fun games. Of course, some of them are just ports from the arcade, so you can actually play the arcade version. There we go. Do 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 do. Holla! Whoa. Getting the hang of this game. And yep, I'm just bashing the buttons. I'm still figuring out some of the controls. No, 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 no. I have no idea what I just did. I think I was just pressing the button button. Freaking D-pad. Battletoads, there's another game I have never seen on the MOS system. So we're going to be doing a downgrade actually, or going back further in time. Because we started with the 16-bit and the 32-bit, but I just wanted to see if the MOS system works on this. Everything is unfortunate widescreen shenanigans, so we can maybe get into the system to see if we can force it to the 4:3 ratio. Or you can use your television to do that, but I will just look into the software. But so far, also this seems to be working fine. Haha. Messed up. Absolutely. And we can also play some Sega CD, where I'm very glad because I always love to play a Final Fight or a Sonic CD. Final Fight is still my #1 game to play. And of course the Snatcher is an absolutely hidden gem. Wolf Shell, Terminator, there's so many cool ones, and the music on this, man oh man, is freaking awesome. But let's move on to the 32, do I say this correctly? 32-bit systems? Or, you know, it doesn't even matter. The point is, let's get into some Sega Dreamcast. The only downside is that like the smaller version of these plug-and-play sticks don't have a lot of games. So you need to add them. By the way, these games are quite massive compared with like the old school 8-bit, 16-bit era. So we're going to be needing a lot of space. But it is pushing it to the limit. These low power sticks are not powerful, and you know, that is the general problem. And of course Dead or Alive is just a really demanding game. You can do a little bit of tweaking, but I think we're not going to be having more or better performance. Oh, go crazy with stuttering. Wata! Let's try the Naomi system, the arcade counterpart. Just get into some Giga Wing. By the way, one of my favorite shmups to play. Beautiful game. And performance-wise, I must say that it doesn't run that bad. I'm surprised. Oh crap, I forgot to use my shield. Always with these cheap game sticks, they keep adding the N64. And yep, I've been complaining in every single video about this situation. However, I do understand that slightly. We have some games that are actually playable. But let's get into the Cruise in the World, because this is one of those games that is a hit or miss. Yeah, this red screen is normal, or at least what I don't understand of. And yeah, so far the emulation performance is enjoyable, with no weird things going on. Because this is actually one of those games I love to play and they mess up. Like Cruising USA, the more demanding game GoldenEye, you know, I think a lot of those, like say, really demanding N64 games are not going to be playable on this. You should get yourself like a mini PC. Cheap mini PCs can actually play N64 pretty well, but these plug and play, yeah. I would say that I can keep playing, and you will notice that, for example, in Diddy Kong Racing or some other stuff that is like simple to emulate, or at least the launch games, those will run just fine, but yeah, okay. Battle Pinball. You will find the weirdest stuff on these emulation devices. And I think that is one of those cool things. You can actually find the weirdest stuff. No idea what it actually says there, but let's get into the game and let's see what's going on. For Super NES game, this looks pretty dope. I love the old school pinball games, you know. I actually started playing those pinball games on the NES with the old school pinball game. Graphical wise, this looks pretty good. So physics wise, the ball itself does have like a nice feedback to it. Oh crap, that was my mistake. But let's do something wicked and let's get into the Game Boy Advance. So playing some old school games is going to be fun. I think Game Boy Advance, they're using some weird filter over it to make it a little bit less pixel related. But you know, this is a system you don't want to play some old school Game Boy Classic with a good reason, because oh man, this is going to be like ultra stretched out. And yeah, we can actually play some DS on this, but you know, you're going to be using the analog stick for the stylus, race driver. Okay, we need to actually touch there, need to use the stylus. So it's going to be an interesting configuration. Also, we're going to be playing this on a widescreen, but let's get into the game. With the idea, there's like a little bit struggling when it comes to the three-dimensional part, but let's get into the gaming. Let's see how it actually runs. Okay, A is going to be acceleration, it's going to be B on my controller. But let's see if we can switch screens. Okay, so pressing the left joystick will give you this. Oh, that is not going to be any good. Okay, so we can actually switch with the R2. Oh, okay, D-pad. Let's see if we can switch here. No, I want... Yes, that's the one I want. So this way you can just have full screen. Woohoo! The audio is so bad on this, and I mean particularly like the general gameplay. Oh! I have no idea how to brake with this game. Oh. But so far, emulation performance seems to be nice, and yeah, you can switch between screens, so... Well man, this looks really pixelated. So PlayStation is another system that runs perfectly, or most of the time, on these game sticks, so let's check it out. So I think if you're going to be looking into like what kind of stuff can we actually play, 8-bit, 16-bit, and what I love about it, well, yeah, even these things are super low power, which you can actually play, for example, 16-bit era, 32-bit era, we can actually play Sega CD and many other systems. PlayStation 1 runs great on native resolution, but of course some new sticks or game boxes we have upscaling, so everything looks so much better. Let's see what everything is going on when it comes to the controls. I think they... Okay, so did they mess it up? No. Let's see if I can actually play. This is a game. D-pad is work, analog stick. Oh! I can do some sliding. Yeah, the idea that was like a little bit of a slowdown over there, but beside that, unfortunately, there was no music, and that just happens a lot with the PlayStation game. And they do this with the simple reason it saves up tons of game. Because I think this game was like a couple of hundred megabytes, and with music, it's going to be like 600. So yeah, whatever. With PlayStation Portable, there are all kinds of tiny games on here, and I just like it because these games are running quite well. But let's try a little bit more demanding games, and let's see what's going on with a couple of those simple games. Let's see if there's someone I know and it's actually good enough to play. Dracula Undead Awakening. What the heck is going on? What kind of weird games did he actually made for the PlayStation Portable? The minis, yeah. I Must Run. Idiot Squad. What? Yes! One of my favorite games to try out. Let's go. Let's look at the frames per second. So far, 60 frames per second. Ooh, dipping to 47, but it's not really noticeable in the turbo function. Woohoo, let's go. Because dipping down is not going to be a good thing. Ah, that was cheap. I couldn't get out. Performance-wise, nice. Pressing select start will give you the option to actually exit here, make and create load to hit save, but also mess with the settings. And add frame skipping or some other stuff if it's going to be needing. And just exit if you want to go back to the main menu. But let's move on to a little bit more emulation requirement when it comes to the power. Let's get ready for the battle. Oh yeah, let's see how far it dips down. Of course we can get in the menu, do a little bit of tinkering if you want to, but I just want to see what's going on out of the box. 32, 30. Oh yeah, it is unplayable. Oh, the screen is shaking like crazy. Absolutely unplayable. Let's see what's going on. Let's go to one time. Let's see what kind of stuff in it. 2 times PlayStation. Oh, 2 times resolution. Why? Because this bloody thing cannot even run like one single. Okay, let's shut off the freaking filtering. And let's continue. Let's see if this is going to be a little bit more playable. No, this is not going to be playable at all. Yeah, that's quite unfortunate. We need to shut down, but again, I think it's not even possible because I can't get out of this freaking game. I need to get into the menu of the PSP and then actually booting up the emulator, not the game, and that was not possible. Weird. And if we're going to be holding A, that's not going to be doing anything. Normally we're getting the extra option, but that doesn't do anything, so problem. What I can do is delete game configuration. Delete as is, settings. Yep, go to one time. And then see what happens if you're not going to be having this enabled. Give this thing a reboot and let's see what's going on. Let's see if we can give this a more playable situation. Okay, that's more playable. It still stutters, running 50, sounds absolutely choppy. And of course we can always implement frame skip if you want to, but you know, let's say going to be to the frame skip again. Again, setting it to 1, going back. And in this way we can actually play it like that. But this is one of the things that's necessary with these games, or at least the system itself, due of the power that we're missing for emulation like this. What I find absolutely amazing that they did implement the right aspect ratio, because these games were freaking otherwise unplayable if you have these freaking widescreen thing going on. So that is kind of cool that we can actually play this. Well, I just wanted to see what happens if we're going to be playing some other games, and oh man, it's unfortunate that not everything is configured correctly. There is no D-pad, there is nothing going on. Did notice some stuttering. So it's kind of interesting, but also kind of sad that they didn't set everything up like it's supposed to be. Unfortunate. But let's do a little bit of a chit chat about, yep, we're going to be checking out the information, because here we can find what we're actually going to be using. So when it comes to the version, we're running on 3.9. We're having, let's see, in total 74 Celsius of in temperature, and that is not great. That's what we're getting with a lot of these bloody freaking Gamesticks, but we're running the Emulator S905 M2. That's actually in quad-core CPU. But let's check out what's going on underneath. This thing is getting really hot. Oh, there is actually like a piece of metal on here, so that is good. But they just glued it on. So I'm not going to be removing that. But the main problem is that this stick is really heating up over the 70 Celsius. And if you're going to be leaving this thing behind your television, always powered on, yeah, this is absolutely made to fail. If it's not the SD card, then it's going to be the overheating issue. So there you have it, the X2L, if I'm saying it correctly. There are so way too many of these devices. But if you're going to be looking at this Gamestick, I did notice a lot of people complaining about these things getting, let's say, fried because they are getting way too hot. And they still didn't fix the issue. They implemented a little piece of metal, but that is not enough to keep this thing going for years. So however, the SD card is another thing you need to back up. Besides that, the controller is absolutely improved compared with the other ones, like the fake PlayStation 2 ones. And playing is really enjoyable. So I've been testing a couple of games throughout this video, and you can see that a lot of stuff runs okay with some problems. But this is what you're getting with these low-powered cheap sticks, with overall, let's say, an okay emulation performance. Thank you all for watching. Consider subscribing later, but let me know in the comments what you think of these sticks, and it would be great to see you in the next video.